know which way I prefer this. Absolutely brilliantly gorgeous day out. It's the morning. And I think this is one of the big selling points of living here is that the place is perfectly set up for outdoor living. Now, outdoor living does bring with it some issues, like outdoor kitchens are harder to run. But outdoor living is easy. And so part of the development plan of this place needs to include a lot of spaces that are outdoors with varying levels of privacy. The idea of everyone having a yard that is barely used at all is dumb. It's poor land use. And so even in suburbia, even if it's not, 5-acre lots, even in suburbia with houses closer together, everybody's got a yard that isn't being used most of the time. If that was a park, it would be used by more people, and you could invest in it more for greater value for all. In other words, sometimes it's good to have a shared investment. Now, I understand very well the tragedy of the commons. And this is a big issue with designing and figuring out what can exist here in the Bosque. And I'm not done thinking about it, and so I'm still welcome thoughts. My current thought is, I'll tell you what my current thought is for structure of the Bosque Village, its landscape, and finances. First of all, we do go ahead and do something that already sounds terrible to me. And we have a homeowners association with rules. And we have a variety of them. So different parts. We divide the Bosque up into sections, okay? We have a surveyor come out. They build markers and the border between every single spot among the different roads and also communities is well defined. And that probably means walled in. That's because within this community of people, and there could be bigger ones and smaller ones easily, in fact, there'd have to be. Because the architecture of the one building is such that these people are going to be connected in their lives. And so they're not just moving into a building, they're moving into a set of social agreements that building has, or a set of utilities that building has, or maybe it's more open to the public and they would like a space like that, or maybe it's completely closed off and private and they would like a space like that. Why not just create a variety of types of neighborhoods right away, and then people can have what they want? And I'm not, by the way, morally against people having 5-acre lots or anything. It just depends on what you envision for a place. I would love it if somebody bought 5 acres near me and was a great neighbor. In fact, I can help them do it. If you're interested in moving here or near, it's actually easier to move nearby. Well, it's harder and easier. If you move here, I've got a lot of infrastructure to help you and have a culture that I believe in. But you may not want that, in which case, I know of 5-acre lots, 2.5 hectares, more or less. I know bigger land for sale. And you can always move to Aronga. Aronga is a great little town, occasionally too noisy. There's some parties. But, really nice people. You would need to order something or get it from Pátzcuaro or get it from Morelia. There's a Home Depot in Morelia. And there's hardware stores around. So won't you be my neighbor? Back to the land and the people in the land. And I mean, let's try and talk about the architecture issue, because I think it's something a lot of people would object to. In fact, I would be first in line to object to my own architecture. I'm like, hey, I mean, look where I live. My nearest neighbor is like 2 kilometers over there. Oh, maybe a guy's going to live over there pretty close by. I'm not sure. Hopefully he doesn't play loud music. So, I wouldn't imagine that I would want to live in an apartment building, right? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like I'm proposing an apartment building. And it is kind of like that. Now, there is an interesting thing about how the land would be owned and sold to developers, and that is that people. I originally I had the idea of people owning things like condos, kind of, in a building. But it's very hard for me to figure that out. There's a bunch of legal issues involved that I'm not interested in getting into. And a building could always go condo. So what I really need to do is to have these lots, right, that are just for building. Um, they may not even have any personal green space associated with it, or they may. It depends on the building and this place. But you can imagine a series of apartment buildings all connected on two levels with portals. Maybe that's the best way to say it. Maybe I'm too complicated in the way I describe things. Imagine a bunch of apartment buildings which can either be stuck together, right, which is common, where you just have pure buildings, or maybe between the two buildings, there's a space. And that could even be bricked in and stuff and or whatever, closed in, and so people from the outside can't see it. But this is a series of very private porches off of different levels of this building. I have a whole bunch of thoughts about tricky stuff about agriculture, but I'll try and stick to the stuff that would affect your life. The key here is that right outside your door, you're connected to infinite options. There, there's two main floors on the building, and both the ends of the building are set up for people to transport in and out of them with either carts or walking. So there's transportation paths all out of this building, and there's a whole bunch of public outbuildings around it. And this is key because if we're going to densify people, we'll worry about things like soundproofing and straw bale between units if they were stuck together. Although I love this idea of these tall alleyway porchy things. I don't know what to call it. And those could either have glass over them or not. I mean, if they had glass over it, all those people would have direct access to sunlight in a fairly private location. And that could be figured out. Some porchy things could be walled in. Anyway, let's skip the porchy things. So these outbuildings are really important to the health of the whole building, and they're really part of the building. And this is something I believe is underprovided in most places. And maybe they're trying to avoid problems with homeless people or something. But there shouldn't be any homeless people here. There's none in Aranga. So they're doing something right. So these larger buildings, the cool thing is that then they're surrounded by portals. So there's north, south, east, and west. These are directions I've heard of that people use to navigate around the planet. I'm mostly interested in the sun. So I'm not interested in magnetic north. I'm interested in the spinny north. Oh, it's so gorgeous, the clouds out there. Um, and the building is designed to maximize human comfort using very passive, simple systems. Build some fancy energy efficient leads building or something that needs parts from somewhere else. It's costly to maintain, and it needs really any energy to be temperature comfortable. You should never be using energy for heating or cooling a building. That means your building is built wrong. That's a solid rule. Because we can't count on those other things. We can't count on there being energy coming in from somewhere else. And this is a place where it's easy to build so that you're not suffering. But most people around here, do not build using passive solar. They do not design their homes to um, maximize use of rain capture uh, and the sun. And I'll tell you about a couple of buildings I envision. I'll go do it so you can get some idea. Now, those are big ideas and they're crazy. They sound crazy. This is like, you know, the truth is they're kind of simple, and I need to be able to build them with local materials and but what I'll have to start with probably is smaller units, and people can then start to stay in them, and they can be independent enough in their unit that they're protected from any disease transfer for the people who are worried about that they have a lot of comfort, that they have options within their area, and I already have defined all these areas. Maybe I should just start defining community rules for those areas, name the community and name the area, and say that community is living in that area, and that community follows these rules. You can join that community or not. I love that idea. It socially distances different groups. It develops the land, and there's rules that of it, what anybody can do, and eventually an association could even own that land. Because I have to get from point A to point B, I have to figure out chicken or egg or whatever, and I can't have people here who just try to take control and disagree with me because they'll turn into a shithole just like everywhere else in the world is. I mean, I even have rules about, and that's a whole other topic, is by what rules should we live if we're in town, and people will know who we are. They know who I am, a huge amount. Okay, everybody in town, not everybody, but a bunch of people in town know who I am. A bunch of them see my videos. A bunch of people in California watch my videos. They come down here and they say, "Hey, I watch your videos." I love meeting those folks, by the way. It's so fun. I love it. The people up in California, whoever, uncle, and and that's cool. I like keeping these places connected. Petaluma, Santa Rosa, Napa Valley, all that stuff up there. I'm not an expert on that area, but I was only there once, and and then keeping that place connected with here. That's very important to me. In fact, that's some of the people that might be very interested in the project could be people who have heritage out of Yotatiro or Lazar Zamora or Aronga. That's a great idea because that would really help. It would really help to have connections to the states. I could maybe buy something they can bring down when they drive down in their SUV or whatever. Uh, and I've met some nice people from up there. There was a couple people who married gringas or gringos, and that's cool. I like that. I like cultural mixing. I know it's confusing for people if they're not sure if they're Mexican or American, and I say, who cares? It just doesn't matter. I know that I don't know what kind of dumbasses talk to these people or insult them or whatever. I don't know if they get insulted, but there's like words like pocho and uh, I don't know the other words, but I should make up some words actually for no. Now I'm just going to contribute to. It would be sort of funny to try and make up words for different types of expats and immigrants. I really prefer to call myself an immigrant because that's what I am. I'm not an expat. I always think of expats as people who go somewhere and work there. But as I read online, these words have many definitions to many people. They are polluted words and they don't make any sense. Some people think, look, the puppy's playing with an avocado pit. An avocado pit is a toy for the puppy. That's a great toy. Very organic. Good job, honey. Kill that. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that puppy a lot. I'm here on guard duty because I want her to play outside, not be in prison all the time. But there's this unsterilized dog coming around trying to fuck her, and I can't get her sterilized because the road there's a bunch of rain for like 24 hours, about 23 hours, and it stopped sometime during the night. Now it's a beautiful day out, but I can't get out of here. Uh, I could probably get out of here without having an accident down a steep, slippery road, but I would definitely not be able to get back up the steep, slippery road. So Yeah, I'm trapped here. She's trapped. Everybody's trapped. So yeah, I got all these rules, but I'm trying to actually detrap us. So land use management and the organization of all that. Lawyer. I don't like lawyers, but I'd like to meet some nice lawyers that I do like. And I'm looking for a lawyer. Here's the kinds of lawyers I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lawyer for, I was going to say estate management, but I only have one thing of value, and it's this land. And I need to make a will. I need to will it to somebody who won't kill me, which means I'm not going to tell them who they are. But I would rather collect a bunch of people who share values like I have. You can decide on which part of the land you love the most and how we can have a legal structure or perhaps a variety of them. I don't know what my options are. I need an expert on that. I need an expert on nonprofits in Mexico. I have one, don't know how to run it. I'm going to shut it down. It's just costing me. It's ridiculous. Um, I need to set up a nonprofit in the United States, probably in Nevada. I need somebody to help me with that. Wait, we were talking about buildings and stuff. Oh yeah. So there has to be legal structures, is my point, to protect everybody. And there's parts of the land where I want to protect them from development entirely, or say that included with the deed to this property is that it can only be developed in these ways, you know. And the problem is that if you make a plan, it's a really fixed plan, and then try and force it into the future is unknown, and the plan may not fit in with the future. And if the future does not like your plan will die because it was made by a dead guy, and no one gives a shit about the dead guy. So, and it might have been a bad plan, and just I mean, it could be that things change, and I would even agree that a plan I have should be changed. But I have this idea of setting aside parts of the property as completely protected parks, and that's exactly what I should do, actually. Um, Maybe I should just really get specific with it. This is tough, and start to define really even small areas of groves of trees that are defined as parks. I think that's a wise idea. And just make it a little harder to change that, that you would need the approval of like this overarching, because all of these different gated communities, okay, with their centralized buildings that provide a lot of service for people in a very dense way, and there's always food right there for you. It's cheap. In fact, some of it's just included in your taxes. I think that's worth it. I think the idea of no hungry residents is worth it, and I'm an anti-socialist. But if we can't run our communities such that we can't, well, it's not that if we can or can't, okay? And believe me, if I was me listening to this, I'm like just hanging on every word I say and wondering if this guy's just some kind of commie motherfucker who's going to make, like Mao's China, which, America is becoming like Mao's China in many ways, culturally and economically. Well, I mean, it's a real mix. Economically, it's very different, but China's way ahead, of course. America's fucked. So, America makes stuff, apparently. That's the sound of a chainsaw. Guys cutting down some pine beetle plague trees. I've not had much problems this year. It was only in one tiny place, but it was some trees. And then there was a secondary wave that we're getting right now. So, so the idea of architecture in the Bosque is tricky. It's really going to depend on every building. And so what I really want to do is work with young architects as part of their, thesis project or whatever. Like really anybody who will work with me for free, just for credit, because I'm working for free, and I would like to talk with them a lot, and then they design a building for a space. And the number one first thing I need of those spaces is really good topographical maps. Now, we can also talk before that, and I can make special videos just for architects. I would love to do that, and because I care about current standards, building standards around the world, and the angle of stairs and the angle of roadways. And but I have a lot of thoughts about things like water flow over a landscape, and this whole idea of having buildings so close into parks everywhere. In other words, every building should be surrounded by a park, and then there's a kind of plaza area near it, and then there's outbuildings that are for barbecues. There's outbuildings that are for sitting and looking at a view, or just a bench even. Um, but the point is that these outbuildings are part of the culture of how we live to have us live more outdoors. And you might say, well, why can't people just sit in the shade of a tree? Well, they can, and I'm working on that. I'm working on that a massive amount. I'm sculpting shade for you from trees on 83 acres. And I'm one dude who's just finally able to walk a little bit again. I had an accident. Um, so I need to partner with other people, and it needs to be people I trust. And I don't trust people by default at all. In other words, I mean, we could say I'm grumpy. We could say I'm an asshole. We could say that I'm unfriendly. We could say that I'm protective or over controlling of the space. And I would agree with those things. And I would say that those are absolutely excellent attributes in a person who's trying to protect a forest against the fucking force of humanity that has destroyed the entire planet. And you're one of those people, and so am I. And I'm very aware of my part in it. And anybody who comes here is going to be very aware of their part in it, and they're going to be a net positive person within the space, or they won't be here. That's it. Not fucking around anymore. I get so many notes every day. 99.9% of the notes I get are people wanting to stay here, and the one thing they want to make sure that they do not contribute is money. They will contribute criticism, advice, demands, a need for service, a need for help. And I can't handle any of that shit. I don't want any kids right now of any age. I can't handle it. You can help by helping raise money, awareness, doing things to help this project from afar. And I really appreciate that. And there's not that many right now. And I think it's because I'm not pandering to anybody. I'm not pushing a survivalist thing, although much of it I have is survivalist like, and I think everybody should be storing a lot more food. I really recommend it. After you store some food so that you can survive temporary disruptions in civilization as it exists for you, then you can wonder where the hell does your food come from and how can you grow it or get it more locally or eat less or eat healthier, be less obese? Sorry, but lean times are coming. So you're going to get lean either way. I recommend doing it voluntarily and learning how to grow food at the same time that is healthier for your body. That's true for everybody, all the bodies. Um, Feeding kids crap is terrible. Childhood obesity is child abuse. And I'm not, saying I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm really not. I mean, any parent with an abused child is probably in a difficult position themselves, and everybody's in a difficult position. I'm in a difficult position. Everybody is. So, as far as me being an asshole, I don't think I am. I think I'm an extremely loving and caring person. I think I am trying to do the best for the world that I can, and I don't know how, and I'm frustrated just like a lot of other people. But I'm definitely not trying to judge you or tell you what to do in the situation you're in. If you are a big user of energy, I do want to mention that, and I'll be a little gentle because the people who could donate the most to me are pretty big users of energy. And I will reiterate that I live on donations entirely. Right now, just to get the help I need to survive, well, actually, it's mostly not about that. Today, the guys helped clean up my chair foam that a dog ripped up. A dog that is not good for me right now. Um, I can't get more clear, I think, than saying I cannot survive without an increase in donations, or I have to pretty much quit the project. I mean, I could get a job online, it's true, and I could work my ass off and then support other people to come here and do my dream. I think I'm really qualified as a person to lead this project. I have several failings that I'm very aware of, and therefore I need to have project managers here, um, and possibly residents. There's a whole bunch of directions I can go with roles that people can have here. Number one role I'm currently unable to offer is come here for free, have fun. It's a party. It's a fun Brian party, and we will do neat things. I've done that, and it's really fun. I'm a great party host, I think. Not great in the sense of big spectacles, but I think that the main thing back in Seattle with a place called Fay Abbey, my house basically, I hosted a lot of people there. If you really add them all up, and there was a real great variety of people, and they did not all know each other, and there was never any centralized organization of it. My poor girlfriends, on some occasions, had to clean up after parties by themselves because I don't like doing that. And I'm like, hey, you should help me for my rent. So I mean, there was hopefully not that many times, but occasionally a girlfriend of mine got stuck cleaning up after a bunch of people who had a great time at a free party. And that was bad organization on my part. I think that stressed my relationship a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure. I have to talk to some people. But there were great parties and with really nice people, I think, and people with a spark in their eye and something that they're driven towards. And I even used to go to parties, and um, I mean, sometimes I just go to parties. Well, I went to a lot of parties. So there's a lot of parties in Seattle at that time, and I lived in a few places in Seattle. But generally, I was a really good party guest, I think. Occasionally, I was a dumbass. Sorry about that. If you're one of the people who dealt with me when I was a dumbass, I really do apologize. Some of those times I barely remember. Sorry. Uh, but there was lots of great parties I went to, hosted by awesome people, and I would go to those parties and I would, just talk to people a little bit. And I'm a very shy guy, really. I would bring toys to parties, and I have. If you're shy, I can give you advice on how to be less shy, because I'm a very shy guy at heart. Really am. I'm oversensitive, really. But that's just how I am, and I think that in a way that maybe that's bad. Like especially socially. I mean, certainly the world. We have to figure out how to deal with the world, and many people are oversensitive. Like, oh, it's too chilly. It's too hot. Let yourself get too cold. Let yourself get too hot. It's good for your body. Seriously, I actually believe that. Let yourself get too hot. Let yourself get too cold. Have a jacuzzi. Go for a walk after a jacuzzi in your slippers. I don't have ice to jump into here, and that does look a little crazy to me. Although I'm very impressed. You crazy fuckers. Humans are great. But it would actually, I could do that here during the rainy season. I could have a cold pool that you could jump into. I could do that. No problem. And I could refill it a lot. I have excess water. During the rainy season, I could actually have water features here that would make people love it. That'd be great. Forgot what I was talking about. Protecting forests and groves. Figuring out how people can be here. Oh yeah, well it's really about. I'm still talking to people who might want to be here, right? Okay. Um, so there is this idea of this overarching nonprofit or something that makes it. I mean, ideally, we would have to figure out for every service that exists, right? Some things would be within a gated community, and then I also want kind of more public lands. And how public these are depends. and I have um, designed the land in a way, and I just figured some things out recently that are really important about how we can imagine a future in which all of the needs of a small town are met. And it's a small town in which everybody who lives there, who originally moved there, was filtered. And it does not mean they're perfect, and it doesn't mean the kids are going to be perfect. And you got to think long term here. But it means that there's a variety of businesses and that there's connections with other systems. There's all kinds of things I don't know about. Okay. And I'm trying to define the space, but I'm not so arrogant as to think I understand all of the systems. I mean, and I just don't have time to do it or interest. So, like, even the supply chain stuff of what goes in and what goes out and how does it do it. Even something as simple as this is very simple. There are products that we produce here in the forest. They're not that valuable yet. A lot of them are native things that everybody's got anyway. You can't sell them for nothing. And but I think this any transport that comes in, this is the kind of details I'm trying to think about. Any transport that comes in that delivers us something that we purchased should leave with something that we sold it. Because anybody with transport needs to make money to pay for their gasoline. And transport is going to get more expensive. Now, there are options also for having people on site who own transport and can serve both ways. That's even better if we can get residents doing it. But for now, we need to partner with people. For example, Hector is a good example. Hector, this guy, brings fruits and veggies to Yota, Tiro, in town over there. Yote Tiro. You get that joke? Yote Tiro. Maybe. Anyway, god damn, it's been a long time since I had a woman. It's not good. And it's really a loss of value to the world that no woman has had me. But, poor women, they do suffer. Anyway, when Hector is done with his run, right? If we could be filling him up with products that he can then sell in Zaku, where there isn't any of that product, because he's already driving there with an empty truck. We're saving Hector's wasted energy, giving him profit, and getting profit ourselves. I don't know what the fuck that thing is. It could be firewood. I mean, trees grow so fast here that I can't maintain roads in some cases. I mean, I could make bundles of small firewood. For example, this is just an example, okay? And this is how we have to think. I'm still talking to people who want to live here, right? I hope. We could make bundles of sticks that grow off acacia, which grows so much that I don't want them, okay? Although I could have an acacia forest. Why not? I mean, they're so easy and they're so tough, and I could just keep cutting alternate trees of them, producing these exactly sized poles, which provide really good firewood that's easy to cut with a chainsaw, just like we can cut it with a weed whacker that had a circular saw blade on it. And then I mean, there's other products too, even the pine resin chips. And so the point is that if everybody in this space is here because they want to live in tune with all the other systems, then all of those other systems can easily be assembled into something that worldwide is a better culture than any one that has ever existed in the entire history of the planet. That is not hyperbole. For those of you who didn't pay attention earlier to life, hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration. Of course, it's an extreme exaggeration. I'm trying to present an extremely exaggerated possibility for the future of humanity and the planet, and we can start that as close to us as possible. People got to clean themselves up first. Okay, figure your shit out to some basic level, because I don't adopt strays here, human strays. I adopt dog strays, but not human strays. They're too difficult for me to handle. So you have to come here with your shit figured out. Now, there's a variety of roles, and if you're so great, if you want to tell me how great you are, then you partner up with somebody who's going to finance you or figure your shit out or something. I don't know. There's a whole variety of ways things can work here. But Brian is not the victim anymore of tourism, even idealistic tourism. And I mean, I might even contact some of the idealistic tourists who were here before and say, hey, do you feel like donating anything to the project in its current state? Now, I'm not going to do any guilt tripping of any kind because that's bullshit. We made a trade. Whoever was here, I made a trade with them. There was a few people I had to kick out, but that's another story. Uh, but almost all of them were just awesome people, and they followed the agreement that we made. And I just never developed a business model that allowed the place to survive. That simply isn't my priority. Although now, as I run out of food, uh, and I have to continue feeding my dogs, and I'm begging online with a Patreon account that has too few subscribers. I got lots of people who send me, "Oh, you're doing great. This is all great," and a lot of people want to come here. Lots of people like the idea. Well, I like the idea too. I think it's really great, and I've given my life over to it, and I will do that as long as I can. And I don't think I can ever leave here. I don't ever want to leave here. This is my whole everything. The farthest I ever want to go from here for very long is maybe I'll get buried in the Yotatiro Cemetery. That's my plan, and I should actually probably make that plan because I almost died recently, and that could happen again. In fact, someday it will happen. You know, I'm currently 50 years old if I'm flirting with you because I'm lying to you, and I like younger women than me. Not going to hook up with a 74-year-old. Sorry. I'm an open minded person, but I know what I like aesthetically, and youth is beauty. So you figure out how that works out for you if you're a person of interest listening to this. But mostly I'm resigned to, you know, just live here potentially alone. At least have some fun, nice people around me. I don't know. I got distracted by some other thoughts there. Sorry about that. Um, the bigger topic here is still architecture, I believe. The outbuildings are very important, and they should be of all kinds. We can make a big list of all the types of outbuildings. One of the obvious outbuildings that you didn't think of right away is a noisy place. And although I would like to really rediscover ways to do things without noisy machinery, it could be that in some cases, some machinery is acceptable. Even in the kitchen, for example, it could be that we have a sound insulated room where, or in some part of the process that we use machinery. I don't want a noisy kitchen. I want most of our skills to be with a knife and food. But, you know, a bread kneading machine based on solar power when the sun is out anyway, and you know, there could be batteries involved. The battery technology is improving. Again, we're always making these decisions about technology case by case. And if we can have the kitchen run more effectively with very selected machinery of high quality, all of them perhaps sponsors even, or have a relationship with the company. I mean, if we're going to use somebody's machine, I want to know where it comes from, who produces it, and I want to make sure they're a friend of mine. And if not a friend of mine, then a friend of my ideas. I'm interested in spreading the ideas that I have. And if we can do it through business connections, I'm perfectly happy with that. If you look at something like the spice trade, a lot of ideas moved along the spice trails. It's not one trail. There's no spice road or trail or road. It's roads, I guess. Spice roads? Yeah. You can go look this up, online. It's a map and stuff. And culture moved along trade, and so did ideas. And that's why that part of the world got so rich so quickly. Now, the Americas did start later, but they didn't have things like domesticated animals, the wheel. They weren't building big boats, and sailing up the coast a lot. And so the Americas developed very differently. And there's a controversial book by, what is his name? Jared Diamond, is that his name? Guns, Germs, and Steel. It's a good book. And it's it's not a hard read. Uh, um, it's questioning why different civilizations developed the way they did. You know, it's just one slice in a big loaf of bread, because it skips the rest of the world, but it wasn't trying to cover the whole world. That's not true. It did try and cover the whole world, but there were some things missing, and that's no insult. It's a great contribution, and I loved it when I read it, and I've read many things since about who we are, why we are. I'm less interested in cultures on the bigger scale, and I'm more interested in the smaller scale. But I have lots of theories about bigger scale. So let's get back down to the forest here. It's right there. It's all gorgeous out. That solar cooker has nothing in it cooking. Why? Because I don't give a shit. You know, my food is so cheap. It's such a small part of my budget that I'm not willing to walk over there and fill up the solar oven. And I have whole ideas for big solar kitchens and all sorts of things. And certainly, I have friends. I have friends now that have like GoSun. Actually, no, she bought a different brand now. She has several evacuated tube solar hot water, no, solar. Goddamn. She has several solar evacuated tube solar hot water heaters. And you know what? Language is malleable. I think we could probably come up with a fucking better name for that. Mm, I think I got it. This is a great advice for anybody who makes that kind of product, GoSun included. Just call it a tube oven. That's it. Super easy. Tube is in YouTube, it's very popular, right? So, tube oven is a great name, fantastic name for evacuated tube solar hot water heater ovens. You could also have a tube stove because it wouldn't be that hard to set up a skillet based on a tube stove. You could also have a tube pot. I cracked myself up. It's a good thing since nobody else is laughing as far as I know. Feel free to laugh. Courtesy laughs are accepted. Totally fine, no problem. So that's interesting. So three new terms could exist. It could be tube oven, which is marketable, done, figured out, on the market, ready to go. Tube stove. Uh, what am I like 8? Uh, yeah, kind of. Uh, okay, do this again. Um, okay, tube oven done, figured out. GoSun is one brand, but there's many others. Many experimentation going on. I would love to have people send me down their product. I will have locals use it. We will make videos with it. We will have you as a sponsor. You can send a representative if you want. I want these ovens all over rural Mexico because I love my friends here, and they're using wood and gas, propane, and both are expensive in one form or another. And so the sun is the solution. I believe that entirely. So I want to see evacuated tube solar hot water tube ovens in Mexico right away. Okay, we're back on ovens. Uh, skillets. Skillets. I haven't seen a lot of those. Those are probably a little hard to construct. You got to really um, be really great to do that with a wood assist, which is optional, really. Um, I don't like. I've mentioned many times in videos I've recorded. about wood assists, meaning that I have a solar system and I do a wood assist part of it. And the problem is that I can't break away from the idea entirely because I live in a climate where sometimes solar doesn't work. And people like to eat their food the way that they like to eat it, the way they're used to. So even though I'm this huge fan of solar cooking, um, it is not a perfect solution for this place. The only other two good options here, well, there's three options. Electricity's out. Okay, it's just out. Heating with photovoltaic is a waste of energy and it's not a good idea. Propane is available, common, where I live, and where you live is different. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm suggesting my formula for how I do shit, and then you have to adjust it for your situation. I don't like getting propane. I have to drive into town to fill tanks that are 30 somethings of something, and they're heavy, and fuck that shit. Wood is a great option here. Now, wood used in the most super efficient way possible. And then there's the question of, do we build wood as an assist to solar, which is really, if we could do it right, would be great. It would be super cool. It sounds tricky to me, and I think it's an engineering problem. I'm not like an engineer, but that's probably the best idea. In other words, if we're going to put all this energy into fixed solar hot water heaters that are going to heat a kitchen, and I feel like this idea is going to be really obvious once people build it. And I want engineers to listen to this video and think about how we could build the most amazing, fairly large solar hot water kitchens that serve multiple outlets of food and that send food away to other places. A lot of it is por pedido, so we deliver. We deliver is really good right now. And you know what? What's right now is good for what's in the future. The current pandemic thing has changed the economy quite a bit, right? It's changed distribution systems and the way business operate. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses have gone out of business. That sucks. But we can change how we design society, and I think that this is a controversial idea probably, but designing for future pandemics, designing for um, clusters of people to exist in all the sizes that they wish to, from one person up to, I don't know, there's always Dunbar's number of 144, right? You can look up Dunbar's number. That's Dunbar, it's his name. Kind of a dumb thing to name a thing, but I mean, like if I come up with a cool theory, I mean, like the Brian phase theory or something, I mean, I'm temporary. Who gives a shit? Name it something funnier or interesting or it's a beautiful morning. You live in the world, I live in the world. We are fucking the world. Sometimes a good fuck, sometimes a bad fuck. You probably had them both. Uh, I don't think we're doing a good job. I mean, I think that's what it really comes down to. I mean, I try not to be super optimistic or pessimistic. Um, I do probably lean a little pessimistic since I see that no one's changing the bad things that are going to happen that we're doing now. So I just don't have any real faith in anyone. Um, and that's on an individual and organizational level. That's not true totally. There are some individuals in this world that I would be willing to invite here to live here and know that they would make the place better. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 10, but all of them are busy with, jobs, kids, things, stuff. Life happens and stuff. Uh, so that's why when people contact me all the time and they offer nothing and they're going to cost me a lot, that I say no. And I do that with, in the past, a little bit of sadness as I couldn't support people anymore. And now I do it with a little bit of like, what kind of dumbass are you? What the fuck? If you live in a rich place, get as much money out of that place as you can as fast as you can and invest it in something real. Because empires don't last, and civilizations don't last. Oh my God. Hey, honey. Oh my God. My puppy wants to come up here, but she has really muddy puppy feet because it rained a lot last night, and she's not coming up here. And just like I want a muddy pawed puppy up on my lap, I don't want uh, people who are not extremely focused on making this be a really amazing, wonderful place. That's it. I mean, I have options. Uh, I think I'm outside the Yotatiro city limits right now, but I could give this land to the city of Yotatiro. I would love to do it. I just got to make a will, and they might fuck it up or not. If I make a series of videos in my, you know, grammatically errored Spanish, uh, maybe I could keep them on track with protecting it for their own benefit. And maybe this small town could benefit from having a protected forest location that serves people. And I don't know. I'm confused about what the best possible future is. I'm not confused in the sense I don't know what's going on. I am confused about if you take all these complex possible options that I have in the odd position that I'm in, that I love being in some sense, although sometimes not. Uh, I'm happy I can do something interesting, with my life that I think matters. And I think there's this sense of search for meaning with people. And I don't mean that when people say stuff like that, it always sounds a little spiritual to me. And that's another word I should get rid of is spiritual. Spiritual means you believe in a spirit world, that there's this other world out there of beings that control things. It could be God, it could be ghosts, it could be demons. I mean, you could hear demons coming out of your microwave oven telling you to kill people. I don't trust the spirit world because I don't think it exists. I think it exists in the minds of people who then become kind of dangerous because they have this other world that is fueling their activities. That sounds nuts to me. And I grew up with it, but it's totally nuts. There is no other spiritual world telling you what to do with your life. No, it's you and everybody around you and your DNA, which actually has a surprisingly large impact. It certainly doesn't control what your actions are, but DNA is really interesting to study. Like there's twin studies and stuff like that. So who are we? Why are we? All this stuff. Now, why am I talking about this in a video when I should be focused right here? Well, it's because I'm focused on the people I invite here. And who are we and how do we treat each other? And what excuses do we give for our bad behavior? That's a good question. Look, there's my finger. It's a good motherfucking question. What kind of excuses do we have for our bad behaviors that affect other people badly? I mean, I hope everybody has kind of a list in their head and preferably written down, and you can even invite your friends to help you make it. You should have a list of all the bad attributes you have and how you hurt other people. And it should be from the people you love, because those are the people who can make you better. And it doesn't mean that their list is right, but it's a good starting point. If you're not making the people around you happy, the number one suspect is you. And it's very likely that the people around you aren't making you happy. And you might be interested in having them also give a shit about making a list of ways they make other people unhappy. And if enough people do this kind of self inventory of how am I doing? Am I doing a good job? Who am I hurting? Who am I helping? How can I be a good person? Then you could actually have societies. Okay, let's just start with families or something. You know, or people even standing in the street. Do you smile at them? Do you frown at them? Are you a dick? Are you nice? If somebody fucks up, are you rude to them? I mean, just be a good person in public. I mean, you can start with that. Be a good driver that doesn't care how fast you get there as much as helping everybody get there faster. So you can do things like that. That's big scale stuff. But how we treat the people exactly around us matters so much. I mean, I thank people every day for everything they do, and that costs me nothing. And sometimes people thank me for what I do, and you know what? They're not thanking me because they want to manipulate me. I don't think in almost any cases. They're thanking me because I'm being good to them and they're being good to me. We have good relationships over many years, and that's how we win. We have to serve each other. And I know that's really complicated. That's so complicated. I'm confused by it all. I you know, obviously have taken a fairly extreme path. And I think that's awesome. It's not easy and not enjoyable some of the time. And I have put up with more shit than than most people would ever do. But that's what I signed on for in some sense. I did not know what I was signing on for. There's that puppy over there. I'm trying to have a flat dirt floor so I can walk across it. And the dogs all dig nests in it. They dig nests in dirt. That's a tiny puppy that doesn't even know anything. And she does it. She knows lots of stuff. She's super smart. She's got a brain about that big. About that big. And she's actually super smart. She learns very fast. If there was somebody here who would want to train her to do tricks and stuff, although all my dogs be up for it. I think this is very much an aside. I'll keep it very brief. But I don't think dog circuses are that bad. Like I would have a dog circus here, and it could be distributed. Like it could just be like places where dogs know that if they do a cool thing, then the dog will do a cool trick and it'll get a treat. I could just sell treats to people. Dogs love performing. Dogs are so in tune with humans. They're so wonderful. I love dogs so much. I don't know about dog circus, and I'm not that into people going to a place and sitting down and watching a show. But what if I just turned my dogs into show people, show dogs, and then they could have like special. I could build like concrete tables, which were also useful for other things. And if you gave a dog a treat, that dog would do a thing in that spot. I mean, I could sculpt a tree with hoops in it, and the dog would run through a hoop if you threw a treat on the ground or in a branch. Be funny. See, these are the kind of crazy ideas I want to collect here. And I've been to festivals. I've been to Burning Man multiple times. And it was fun. I went 1999 to 2004, which I believe is 5 years. Enjoyed it greatly. I have some stuff you can look up online. I wrote about it. Um, Currently, Burning Man, this is 2021, is shut down for the pandemic. Some people still went out there, and I thought that was awesome. And if I lived nearby, you know, I would have been more inclined to go to that than I would be to go to Burning Man. I stopped going to Burning Man. Fuck Burning Man. And fuck is not an insult in this case. Burning Man fucks itself. It's a great thing. It's evolved heavily, and I think that's great. Things don't always stay the same. And a lot of people will say, hey, that thing wasn't the way it was before. And I liked it the way it was before. And it's like, well, guess what? Things do not stay the same way as they were before. Have you noticed that? I don't know how old you are, but you will notice it probably if you're paying attention. And if you read anything anyone ever wrote before you existed, you will learn that things are not now the way they were before. But the forces that create things are what they were before with some odd twists and new things. And so you can become a person who understands the future and who understands the now. And if you want to be interesting as a person who comments on the current, then you should probably learn about the past. In other words, study history if you want your thoughts to be considered important in the now. Young people, especially, are often stupid. This is generally accepted thing. I was as less stupid as I could be, although I still was, because I was young. And stupid's the wrong word. Ignorant is better. And so one of the things I would say, like, I don't talk to young people a lot because, I'm also a guy. I'm an older guy, and I'm supposedly therefore an evil threat to young people, and I hate that. I don't like that. Um, as most of your teachers are female, men are kept away from children in general. And this is true in the family. This is true in the educational system. It's true in general. Men are considered to be evil child predators. That's true. You want to spread a bad rumor about a guy? Say he likes children, and it will spread, and it will destroy that person potentially. And that is not the fault of that person. It is the fault of a society that finds people guilty with no evidence. And I understand the desire to protect children. Believe me, I'm going to host people here, and I want to host young families. There's a lot of young families in Mexico. I live in Mexico. There's a lot of youth here, and I like kids, and I avoid them. I've been affected personally. I don't want to be alone with children. It's that bad. And I asked a question on Quora a long time ago. As a man, would you avoid children because there's risk to you? And the answers at that time, I haven't checked on the question in years, but at that time the answer was, yeah, I would avoid them. And so what you're doing is you're removing children from men because there's this big assumption that men are somehow child predators. Well, fucking believe me, I'm not a child predator. And I will tell you, I'm pretty honest about my sexuality. That's not true. I'm honest individually with people who we have mutual interests. Um, but I haven't really written that up, and I don't know that I want to. I sort of feel like it's offensive that I should even have to. I certainly shouldn't have to protect the very basic idea that I'm in favor of human rights for all people. And I will respect completely even laws of like there's this 18-year-old limit on who you can fuck and you can't fuck. That's fine with me. You know, I don't think I've ever fucked anyone under 18, even when I was under 18. And so I'm totally fine. I'm not interested. That's just not my thing. I think kids are cute, and I want them to have amazing places to have some of the experiences I had growing up. Of getting on your bike and riding far away and running around fields and some things that we probably shouldn't have done. But, we were non destructive, tiny beings in civilization. It was fine. And I think big areas can be set up for this Kid V idea, right? Of like setting up spaces for kids where they can be free. Just like I'm trying to set freedom for adults and freedom for myself, although I'm so temporary. I realize that so much. It's disturbing. Um, I think about death a lot. But so back to kids and Kid Via briefly. Um, I would like to host parents here and kids and families. And I certainly don't want to build Disneyland, but I believe that I can. Unfortunately, I think the biggest thing is the fence. I have to fence the kids in because I'm talking about kids at various levels, and there's I want to take care of everybody from babies to adolescents, and um, at adolescence, I think we should have rituals, special camps, and a major transition into responsibility. I believe in this. Um, and I don't think it should be age based. I think that there should be ways to have early entry with some special help if necessary. But if somebody's really ready to advance quickly in maturity and knowledge, then I think that we should have ways to help those people along quite quickly and identify them to even people in the community who can advise them and talk to them with vocabulary that they're ready for and reward the best thinkers you have. Uh, I wish I had had that. I self directed and I'm fine, I guess. I'm doing what I do. I think that um, I don't know enough about the adolescent period that I can design for that, but I want them protected from the evils of the adult world, and I want them to experience things that help them be as advanced as they can be. Athletics is certainly an option. Their bodies are turning from child into adult during that period. And again, I'm not an expert on this period, right? Um, but I think that hula hooping it would be an easy example. If there's not hula hoops laying around ready for use, your space doesn't have the right infrastructure. Um, Young people should have like I guess I'm talking. What am I talking about? I guess I'm talking about people who have hit puberty, but their whole body is chemically contaminated with hormones, and they do not know what they're doing with their weird new developing body. And men and women do it differently. I do believe there are men and there are women biologically, and that there are also within that different hormonal influences, and there are different cultural influences. So I'm not real, binary in that sense, but I'm not uh, gonna. I think people should have a wide variety of expression of what they want to do, and that they should develop their bodies into a very healthy level, and that at that time they should learn how to feed themselves really well. It's really important that there's certain lessons that you should learn during adolescence about taking care of yourself. And if you don't learn those lessons, then you have no chance of being a positive adult in society anywhere. That's not true. You can always find somebody to take advantage of you if you're a fucking sociopath or psychopath. You fucks. But if you don't want to, make children like that, and if you don't want to be a child like that, and you want to be a person who's a positive influence in society, then you can learn some basic things. And I have some thoughts on that, and you can disagree or agree. I don't really give a shit. But if you're here for adolescents, I would actually like to have probably, this is an interesting idea. Hmm. I don't know that I would. I mean, I had this idea for Kid Via for a long time, a place for children. And I mean, an infant place is totally different. I don't know about that, but there's local people. I know local people. They know about infants, and somebody else can take care of infants. They just keep them safe. Don't let them die. Um, so, what are the ages of Kid Via that I'm envisioning? That's a good question for me, since you're not talking very much. I got to remember back to my own childhood. They send you to school at 5 years old. I was in a preschool in Seattle when I was under that, and I know they made us take a nap in our underwear. I don't know why that was, and I hid behind the piano. That's all I remember. It was in University District, probably near 50th. Not sure. I don't know what's needed with different ages, and those got to be divided up. And I almost picture having a place that had this gradient, like because I have a lot of land here, and I can divide it up and figure out courtyards and different types of businesses. And it could be that there's just a kid type place that people pull up and kids jump off the thing, and the transport could be multi age, which is easier to do than having the actual care of the children. And then, of course, we got interior, which is different. How do you design that? Like a big drop off unit for children of different ages. I think that the teens are a whole different case. That's my thought. And what's a teen? I don't know. I guess there's 12 and there's 13. There's a difference, right? And the girls are already starting to go through puberty. Some of the boys aren't even close, and many of the girls still will be. My stereotype is the girls go through puberty sooner than boys, right? Is that true? I don't know if it's true. Uh, the belief is boys delay longer, and I don't like that idea. It could just be a biological idea, which is then my opinion is irrelevant, right? Uh, should you have girls and boys only spaces in adolescent areas? In general, I am for the mixing of the genders as much as possible and at a young age. I have lived in places where the genders are generally separated a lot. Uh, I'm not against gender. I'm against that many things are defined as gender that I don't think really need to be that genderized. Genderization would be a term that I don't know if it's ever been used, but should have been. Like where you kind of put gender on people. And I think putting gender on people, like saying girls do this, boys do that, kind of causes some people to react against it and could even cause some transgenderism. Where obviously, if you force me to be someone who I don't feel like being, and you associate that with gender, well, guess what? I'm going to react against the gender. And I'm going to say, I'm not that gender. Well, that could be confusing as my genetics, my physical development could be contrary to my rebellion against being forced into a gender role that really has nothing to do with my DNA and doesn't have to be culturally enforced. I'm against cultural enforcement of gender. but obviously we have DNA and we have physical form. And so I think that the culture itself, and maybe it's part of, I'm not sure about this, but cultures are coming together, right? And we're fairly confused apparently, and sometimes very violent, and there's been long wars and a lot of people dead that didn't need to die. Uh, and currently in the world today, there's issues about gender norms and what you can do and what you can't do. And my real recommendation to this, and it doesn't have a lot to do with gender bending performances and entertainment, and I don't care who plays what in a movie, or I really just don't give a shit about most things. It don't matter. But how about just not giving a fuck? I'm pretty good at it. Now, I don't got a lot of people hanging around me, so there's always that. But the people I hung around with in Seattle, the people I collected over time, they mostly didn't give any shit at all about gender. As far as I know, uh, I didn't interview people. I didn't live with them. I lived with some people, but not very many. Hey, you guys, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Damn, that's a pretty dog. Coco's like a big, strange dog polar bear. I love that they play together like, the biggest dog and the littlest dog play together like puppies. It's so cute. It's wonderful. Anyway, uh, I would like to live in a society where people just don't care if people are gay or not. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care if people are bisexual. I don't care if people are asexual. I don't care if people are some things. Yeah, I do have some sexual limits on what is acceptable in this space. Some of those are imposed from the outside to follow local law, and some of them are from my own morality and ethics of what I think is right and works for society as a whole. You may or may not agree with those. I do not publish most of those. I would probably talk more honestly with someone if they were going to actually live here. But for anyone visiting, it doesn't matter. Anyone staying here for even a month, it doesn't matter. I don't care. No, I do care. You can't do anything bad. And that means mainly bring your outside intimate help, but don't look for it here. This is not a festival here. I want a very serious place with people very invested in the place and they're protecting themselves. I believe in sexual responsibility, and that includes a reproductive responsibility and also disease protection. This all also fits in with having different groups of people separated from each other who have agreements across group of what they do and they don't do. I believe we should separate as communities into a bunch of smaller communities in the world, and that is a more complex idea than you're going to get from me right now. But think about it. Think about if you actually had an extended family of people you could trust immensely. Some people were lucky enough to just have one, or unlucky enough. It's a mix, right? I'll talk about that. You're born into a family, meaning you were born from one woman. That's your only real family, your mother. Mother's very important in the world. Without mothers, there's nobody. Without sperm, without very few men, there's nobody either. But there's a lot of men and very few women by comparison. Or I should say there's a lot of sperm and very few eggs. That's more accurate. And there are two genders, and feel free to find some others. I'm into costume play and gender play. Do whatever you want. But you're either XX or you're XX or XY, or you're a very unusual mix of those, and that's a whole other category. And I don't know much about it, and so we can just skip that for now. And I'm sympathetic to anyone in those categories, and I hope they do well, and we can support them in whatever they need to do. But you're either XX or you're XY. That's it. One of the two. Accept it that you're either a woman or a man genetically, and then let's just go and accept you for whatever the fuck you want to do in your life as much as we can without you being damaging, annoying, or whatever. Okay, and let's work on you. Because XX and XY do not imply any cultural social roles at all. We got a whole world of social roles to pick from. And you happen to be born into one of them. But that's not the problem with your genetics. It's also not a problem with your genitalia necessarily. Could be. Never know. That's a whole other matter. Sexual preference, a whole other matter. The point is that the role of a woman and a man in society is completely uh, variable depending on where you were born, what time you were born in history, and prehistory. A lot of prehistory. Let's not forget about the prehistory. Just because it was not written down doesn't mean it didn't matter. All of the shit around here where I live, which was very complex civilizations that had huge cities and stuff, and we're only discovering now with LIDAR. LIDAR is this cool stuff that can look under the ground. We're discovering even more complex patterns of civilization within an environment, and they fed lots of people in a sustainable way. We can learn from this. We can relearn from this. Relearn what we've forgotten. And we can learn from lessons taken in other places too. It's not like Norway can't have chinampas. Chinampas are a thing that was in Xochimilco. And then, they're kind of like, they're not island gardens, but canal gardens. There's all kinds of ways we can do shit that are really low tech, require a lot of labor in many cases, and we can use the last of our cheap oil labor to rebuild some of it, maybe, or to build some of it. But we really have to learn how to do it manually, because I think that the oil fueled world is going to die, and we know that, and we can respond to it now in really smart ways. And I don't mean smart with more technology, mostly. I'll try to get back on topic in a second, but I do have to wonder, like, does a river have to flow to the sea? That should be a question. No, that's a bad question. I don't like this have to phrasing, quote, have to, and have to shit. People say to me sometimes, they say, did you have to do that? No, I don't. I do it because I think it's the best thing to do. And the way you said that with your annoying tone of voice, which I was nice enough to help you out with making, is so annoying to me that I just tune you the fuck out. You have to do that. No, I don't have to do that. I'm doing that because it's the smartest thing I can think to do based on everything I know. And that's true for a whole bunch of other people who aren't you. That's true for homeless people, rich people, super rich people, dumbass people, everybody, including you. And when you say stuff like, do you have to do that? It makes me think you're in the dumbass category. It really does. Because it seems rude. Like you have a lack of respect for my knowing what I'm going to do in my life with what the resources I have are. And I'm doing my best. I really am. And I've left some pretty cush ass conditions to do one of the hardest core things you can do for what I hope is the best benefit of all of society. in a collapsing society, a variety of collapsing societies, and a collapsing civilization overall. So if you don't appreciate that, well, that's fine. Go do your own thing. Fuck off. I don't care about your comments, certainly. Uh, sorry. That's the grumpy Brian. I don't divide my personalities much. It's all me. I did earlier in some video mention a few adjectives that could be used to describe me, but I don't really care that much about me. I of course would like some pleasure in my life again, and I want to feel successful and useful, and I'm egotistical in this sense. There is no one that's not egotistical, as far as I know. Whatever ego means. Okay, the sun came out. It's very exciting. This is a very long, whatever it is. I think I'm doing Facebook Live at the moment. I don't know what that becomes. I don't know what it is. And I have it set as private. It might be a way for me to record video without storing it on my local device. And that would really help me because I have no more hard disk space at all. I've used up all my hard disk space trying to publish videos about my philosophy and how I do things. And and so if this works, then I'll be able to broadcast right around here. I have Wi-Fi right here. I don't know if I walk over there, if I'll lose Wi-Fi. I can do a test. I can do like a Facebook Live that's just like I'll walk till I die. In this case, death would be being offline, which is similar for a person who is existing more online in the minds of people than in person. In person, uh, I spend about 20 minutes usually talking to a person in person per day, 3 times a week. Okay, so that would be 30 divided by 7, 8, I don't know. 8 minutes a day talking to somebody normally. And then I've had 4 visitors since 7 months ago. I don't know how many months. Things go along. I'm the most alone person I know of who's so connected. There is a. I shouldn't say that. But there is a cute girl with a YouTube channel, and her voice is beautiful. Oh, she's age inappropriate for me, probably by your standard, not by mine, and I don't know what her standards are, but her voice is so pleasant. She talks slowly in such a beautiful way, and she's exploring her values. She's rural. I think she had some emotional damage in the past of some kind. She tries to make products, which is cool. Um, I know. I, I stalked her a little bit. I looked her up on Google Earth, and based on the few things she said about her town, it was pretty easy to find her town. And but now she's moved on from there. I think she might have a boyfriend now. I'm not sure. I forget. But I've given up on all that stuff. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what the future holds. I really don't. Simplest thing for me to do here is stay away from other people because I'm so inundated with people who want to contribute no resources. And I've contributed all the resources I've ever worked for and all the skills I've ever built up and everything I can do now, I contribute to this place. And so, no, I can't collect people who want to just take. No. I would like to collect people who want to build. And that's one of the reasons I talk about the various projects I have and the difficulty of actually doing it. Now I understand there's people with resources who don't know about who don't know is who don't want to know about the details, and that's cool too. People, everybody's different, you know. They're all in different positions, and I guess I just want to collect people who really are wanting to build a new world. And I say that, and I really mean it. Build a new civilization that will come after this one, because I do believe this one will die. It is dying, and it might die slow or it might die fast, but we can rebuild it in a new way. And why I don't know, and I don't know if I need to know why. I think it's a desire for survival. I just want to create things that work. And this society is not working for people. I know so many unhappy people, and they don't publish that shit. They publish their happy photos on Instagram, and they write articles that are essentially lies. And they team up with a team that supports them against the other people. It's common. It's normal. And everybody loses every day, all the time. You're a slave of a lot of stuff. Am I supposed to bring up your children to convince you to give a shit? You might not have children. I don't have any. Ideas are my children. This land is my temporary child. I don't know what it is. That's a bad analogy. Sorry. People say they care. That's what they say. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Love is usually a lie. Look in the mirror. How do you affect other people really? You watch your fucking mouth? Do you think? Do you read? If we just act like simpler animals, we're going to die. If we have too much technology, we're going to die. Somewhere in the middle, there's a whole bunch of decisions we got to make about every technology we have, everything we do. And we've got to be like different groups of the Amish, you know, in some bigger sense, and decide, well, in my group, we use technology this way. And your group could be a group of friends, it could be a family, it could be just with your partner, it could be with your child, it could be the things that you require from your civilization, from your government. If you're going to allow them to govern you, you may need to set some limitations on what they're allowed to do. What are they allowed to do to you? How much of your labor do you have to give to them? And how much do they get to control how you use your labor? Now, I am a kind of a fan of protecting somehow the natural resources of the land and also the air and the water. And these are the commons that we share. We share the commons. And I mean, we even have to wonder how can someone own land at all? It's a little weird, but how can we make that kind of thing work out in a societal sense? I will mention, as an aside, something called Georgism, which I'm interested in. And I don't know that I'm a fan, but I like to explore ideas. Georgism is a weird idea because it's named after a guy named George, and so this guy got an ism named after him. Okay, I think there's a different name for it, but if you look it up on Wikipedia, you'll find it, and it probably shouldn't be named Georgism because it's a little silly. And I'm sure George was a wonderful person to get a whole ism named after him. Maybe he was a really good party guy or he was a good economist or something. I don't know. But it's about taxing land, taxing only land. And I think it's a great idea to simplify tax systems such that there isn't a huge tax bureaucracy with lawyers and loopholes and super rich people and enforced poverty. And this is what the whole tax system does. The tax system is existing to fuck you over entirely. The tax system is designed to fuck you over entirely. Read, think. You're people were better off under feudalism, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert. But people are just taxed to death. They're tax slaves. In anywhere in the world where the government can possibly implement it, that's exactly what they're doing. And so simplifying the tax system is a no-brainer. Simplify, yes. Georgism, I'm not sure. Could be. Look it up. Think, 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 think. Please think. Please think, please think, please think, please think, please think, please think. Please read. Please be nice. How the fuck are we gonna that shit if we can't do that? What the fuck? So I might take a break. I don't know how long I've been talking. Hour and 38 minutes. Unlisted. So it says live, but it's unlisted. I made it unlisted. So it could be that I've never seen this. I didn't see your chats or anything. I don't know what Facebook Live is, and I'll post this, and I won't try it again unless it works out well. I hope you are well. Look up, you can look me up elsewhere, and I'll have things to piss you off and things to enlighten you, and we'll have some fun.